Hi, this is Regina Y. Favors with Pre-Singles Counseling. This is part of my Pre-Singles Counseling coaching curriculum where I design lessons and case studies based in the psychology literature on different topics. This Pre-Singles Counseling is targeted to three types of individuals. The first individual is a person who is interested in becoming single. That means that person is not necessarily interested in dating or entering the marriage market. The second individual is a single individual who is interested in entering the dating market. And then the last individual is a single dating individual who is interested in marriage. So take some time to listen to this lesson and or case study. Please leave a comment and I will reply. In addition, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the notification bell if you are interested in further topics. This is Pre-Singles Counseling, a Pre-Singles Counseling coaching curriculum. Thank you for visiting the channel. This lesson is subject to fair use, where I will comment, criticize, offer research, as well as teach and provide scholarship. By the end of this lesson, students will be able to do the following: define mate switching, define mate switching hypothesis, explain the benefits and costs of mate switching, discuss the process of cultivating backup mates, define remating. Single women should be knowledgeable about mate switching and why partners often adopt a walk-away strategy from the relationship. When partners do not feel that they are getting the best value out of their romantic relationships, they often cultivate backup mates. Women in general monitor their partner's value, tracking their progress while exploring potential alternatives. They may be likely to cultivate a backup mate while employing cost-inflicting behaviors. Single women should understand that partners remate, forcing them back into the mating markets. What is pre-singles counseling? Pre-singles counseling is based in a decision to enter or exit singleness. Pre-singles is the time period between single and contemplation of dating. There is a difference between being a single individual and being a single individual who has entered the dating market, which includes the sex market. Pre-singles counseling is the processes by which an individual researches, learns, and plans to navigate life either as a single, a dating single, or a single interested in marriage. So here are some pre-discussion questions. What is mate switching? What is the mate switching hypothesis? What are the benefits of mate switching? What are the costs of mate switching? Why do women feel they need to monitor their relationships? And how do people cultivate backup mates? And then the last, what is remating? So I want you to think about these pre-discussion questions, especially the question about monitoring your relationship, because it is one of those strategies that we often do use or employ when we are trying to keep up with our mate. And also, if you are the type of person who likes to jump from partner to partner, you might use monitoring as a justification for exiting a romantic relationship and then cultivating a backup mate. All right, so mate switching, when we basically leave relationships. So mate switching is basically defined as leaving one mating relationship and entering another. The following circumstances can prompt a mate switch. So one of those circumstances is unanticipated costs associated with staying with one mate. So we didn't know that the person didn't have a job. It seemed like the person had a job, but then when we got with the person, moved in, and we're with them for a while, then the person either quits their job, or the job that we thought they had was actually part-time or temporary or something like that. So unanticipated costs. Unanticipated costs also could be that the partner, you found out, here it is, you're with the partner for 2 years and then you find out that he's married. So unanticipated costs associated with staying with one mate. That means that if you stay with that person who is married, you have to understand that no one basically leaves their wife or husband. So that means if you continue to stay, you're going to continue to stay with uncertainty, with instability, economic instability, emotional instability. Another circumstance for why someone might mate switch is changes in mate value of either partner. And we usually look at mate value in terms of finances and their economic status. So if you married a high value partner and you consider yourself a high value partner, or you fulfill the global beauty standard, and then that partner changes in their mate value, meaning that they're no longer really a high value partner due to finances. Maybe they lost their money, lost their job, or something like that. This might prompt a mate switch for you to find another high value partner, because if you are, you have some people who only date rich people. They only date rich people. So that means that whoever that they date or marry, that person has to sustain their wealth and riches and access to networks and etc. So if you are retiring from, say, like the NFL, that means that your wife, who sought you as a high value partner, might perceive you as no longer high value, because you don't necessarily have access to all the resources and more money because you are entering retirement or you are retired. And then people like the glam, the glow, the pumping circumstance of being connected to an NFL player or an NBA player or a golf player or anyone who is famous, celebrity. They like all of that. And when you no longer work in the industry, or you no longer work in that immediate environment, and you don't transition into something else. So say, for instance, the NFL player has now become a broadcaster. So they still make sure that you have access to maybe sitting in a skybox or interviewing other players, just having access to the immediate network. If you don't have access, if that is not the case, and you're not making the transition from, saying, being the NFL player to broadcaster, then your mate value has changed. She didn't marry a person who was retired. She married a person who was still active and still recognized, and which made her recognized, right? And so people might mate switch when there is a change in the mate value of either partner. If you look at it in terms of a man, if when he married you, you fit the global beauty standard, but then you turn around and let yourself go, your mate value, you have lost your mate value, because he married someone to be a trophy on his arm. He didn't marry someone to be average. And I hate to say it like that, but that's how men think. He married someone to be a trophy on his arm. And if you no longer want to do that, say, for instance, the concept, the come up woman, that before the person becomes a celebrity, he always marries like a starter wife, right? And then once he gets up and he's more famous and he gets more money, that starter wife becomes a come up woman. So then it's time to divest of that relationship, or let go of that relationship, abandon that relationship, and mate switch to the person he believes is of higher value for where he is going, because even he no longer looks the same as he did before. So that could be one of the circumstances that might prompt a mate switch. And then the last one is arrival of a new mate or potential mate. So the more your partner attends these parties, that they always attend network parties of any kind. It can be NFL, NBA, it can be corporate, it can be any type of party where there's a high value class of women attending those parties, trying to look for a mate, no less. That is an arrival of a new mate or potential mate. So even if he's married to you, that person might be an option for him. And if he considers it an option for him, then it's going to prompt a mate switch. Partners often mate switch when they feel there is a value discrepancy in their current partner. So whatever you were prior to marrying them, in terms of whatever value he attached to you, you look significantly different based upon the money that he has now and the money and the access to different women. So now that he has a lot of money, he can get a better woman in his mind. And so there is now a value discrepancy. Now, value discrepancy is relative. It depends on what you agree to. So there's always this understanding that if the person is if the person is a wealthy individual, he always tends to marry someone younger than him, more fit, looks really great, gorgeous, high standard, keeps her body up, keeps her look up. And there's that understanding. It's sort of implicit and also explicit for certain relationships. And then if you decide that I don't want to do that, I just want to be a regular woman, but I still want to be married to you, that's a value discrepancy because you both agreed. And some of these relationships, when they reach these higher levels in terms of wealth relationships, they sign contracts. They sign all different types of contracts. And so if you don't meet the provisions of those contracts, that gives them justification to abandon the relationship with you and mate switch. But if there was no agreement in the beginning, we're just here together, we are married together, we're going to work together, I know you're going after your dreams, I'm going to help and support you. And then you decide once you become more successful to let her go based upon your preconceived value discrepancy. So she no longer looks like what I want her to look like. Well, you didn't really tell her that. Y'all were struggling together and she was supporting you. If anything, she would have a value discrepancy issue with you, because then when you became famous, you decided to let her go. So value discrepancy, I believe, is really relative. It's more subjective. I don't think people really talk things out prior to marriage. And then as they are going through their marriage, and the problem that I have with most men is that when they become famous, all of the investment that the woman put into him, helping him, loving him, picking up the work slack, being patient, he no longer wants to invest in her. So he takes all of his money and invests in a new woman who did nothing for him. But it happens every time. So the mate switching hypothesis. Partners do the following in romantic relationships. So first, monitor their current mating relationship for both benefits and costs. Evaluate alternative potential mates while mated. Circumvent the guarding tactics from a current mate. Engage in extra pair infidelity. Deploy exit strategies, and then switch to a new partner. And they often adopt a walk-away strategy. So that means that I've always heard men say that men read women. So, and I'm not quite sure if women really read men, because the problem with women is that whoever we are with, we are already planning long term, and we are already thinking in terms of if he loses his job, I'm going to be there for him. If something happens with his kid, I'm going to help him, things like that. So we've already decided that we're going to stick it out. We believe in the marriage vows. This may not be the same idea for those who marry rich or wealthy. You know, a woman at a higher level is going to automatically want her man to remain at that higher level, and if he doesn't, she's gone, right? That's not the same for the average woman, average man. So if you find yourself monitoring your current mating relationship for both benefits and costs, and you are an average person, it might mainly be, does he still keep his job? You know, is he stable enough, right? Is he getting along with his supervisor? You know, another thing might be that every time you turn around, he got to quit a job. He can't stay on a job. So monitoring at that level, at the average level, just might be just everyday issues that you would have as an individual, as an adult, and then everyday issues that you would have as a member of a marriage, right? So the benefits we might look at benefits as in terms of actual benefits he gets from the job. He supports the family by providing the health insurance or something like that. So monitoring is very different at one level from another. So if it's at the higher level, elite levels, monitoring would definitely take take a course of in whether your partner is thinking about mate switching. So here it is, you fit the global beauty standard, you are gorgeous, you could be Miss USA or something like that, but he's already entertaining another woman, right? He's flirting, maybe leaving the house, not coming back for a whole weekend because he's having sex with somebody else or whatever. And so that's something that you have to monitor too, because how you get them, is how you lose them. So if you got somebody who was already married and then he divorced that wife to be with you, then you can expect that's going to happen to you as well, right? So evaluate alternative potential mates while mated. So that means I've heard someone say that men are always looking for an upgrade. So then, can you really, as a woman, settle into a relationship, a romantic relationship? Because if they're always looking for an upgrade, why in the world would you even marry? And I'm saying this to the singles, that I don't think you should be fearful that your husband will cheat or your future husband will cheat. But that is something to think about. And I've heard someone else say, a man is only faithful as his options. And when you get to a point where you are already thinking about monitoring and evaluating alternative potential mates, you read the situation early enough to know that you were not going to stay. And I've heard some people say, like they say about a job, I'll only stay on a job for 2 years. I've heard some people say that they only stay in a relationship for 2 years, and they get bored and they want to be with someone else. And it's hard to read men. We can read men early when it comes time to figuring out if they are workers, if they will hold down a job, keep a job, if they have a provider mentality, if they're snakes, if they're hustlers. Sometimes we struggle, but we can see their attitude in their finances. But it's hard to tell if they're going to remain faithful. It's just, and I've never been such a negative person about that. But when I think about that, some men don't always actively go out and flirt. But that is something that I've been thinking about lately, that if they're only as faithful as their options, and they are only, and they're always looking for an upgrade, I mean, why marry them? I don't know. They might circumvent the guarding tactics from a current mate, so they might go around, or they might, here it is, the the mate is trying to guard the relationship, trying to keep the relationship, and they might actually circumvent that um, in different ways. It just depends on what their strategy is. And then they might engage in extra pair infidelity. That's why I say people who say they want to be with you, and then after they marry you, now they want an open marriage. They wanted that in the beginning. And they probably showed you that much earlier when you guys were trying to be sexually adventurous prior to marriage. And you can't necessarily say, well, I didn't know that he wanted somebody extra in the bedroom, but somehow he showed you. People show you who they are very early. And we might joke it off, or, laugh it off, or think, oh, he's crazy or whatever, but he's showing you what he wants. And so I don't agree with extra pair infidelity. I don't agree with cheating, because cheating means exit. Even if a person stays with you 25 years, they've been cheating the whole time. They haven't been really in relationship with you. They are in relationship with somebody else. And ironically, you happen to be the rebound. The person that they really want to be with is a person that they leave the house for every weekend to go be with and love. And they just married you to make sure they had a secure base, to make sure they had someone to come home to make sure they can pull at you for sex, pull at you for comfort, pull at you for wifely duty. But their heart is not with you. People can marry you all day long if they want to, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have married you. They might have just chosen to be with you because the other person that they really wanted was not available. And then they decided, well, once the person became available, they were already married to you, so they can just really engage truly in the relationship that they have with the other person, and you're just a person that they have at home. And so one cheating incident turns into another, and now you are in a state of infidelity. And you have people who have been married for 20 some years, and their partner has left every weekend to be with their mistress. That's crazy. And then you wonder why the wife, has health issues, has mental issues, has cancer, is struggling, because all of that really weighs on your heart and your mind. The mate switching hypothesis also includes one of the partners deploying an exit strategy. And exit strategies tend to be a process. It's not something that they do just automatically. They don't come home automatically and just pack a bag. They've been packing bags for a while now. The packing of the bags could have been taking extra clothes and placing them in the gym locker. The packing of the bag could have been taking some clothes and hanging them up in the house of the mistress. The packing of the bags could have been taking some clothes and put them in the bag and putting it in a car. The packing of the bags could have been the trips that they take for out of town, right? And then eventually, all of a sudden, and it looks to you like it's all of a sudden, but all of a sudden they come home and pack that very last bag, and then they're gone. And so even legal separation is really deploying an exit strategy, because if you really wanted to work things out, you shouldn't have to legally separate. You shouldn't have to move out of the house. The fact that you are moving out of the house basically means that it's just a matter of time when you're going to serve, the divorce papers. And so people who really want to work things out will stay in the house. They will stay in the house. Now, I don't know if there's a real guarantee that they're going to work everything out while they're in the house. But people who want to leave so quickly are just runners. And so it's better to stay together and try to work it out. And then if you come to a decision to, divorce, then at least beyond a shadow of a doubt, you tried to work it out. And then, of course, they will switch to a new partner. So eventually, and I venture to guess people already have someone in mind, especially men. Men already have someone in mind when they decide they want to leave, way before they decide to leave. Because people in general need their comfort. They need certainty. And they won't leave something until they know for certain something over here is going to work out. So it's an arm's length situation. So they have one arm um, ready to pull on the wife, and then they have another arm stretched out ready to pull on the mistress. And so whichever one decides to take him and keep him, or take her or keep her, that's the one they're going to go with. For men, however, if they can keep both, they would. They would keep the wife at the house, and then they would keep the mistress too, because the mistress might make them feel alive. They might be feeling some sort of midlife crises or something like that, and they need someone to make them feel good. So for homework, if your partner ever cheated or decided to embrace a lifestyle of cheating, would you leave? Especially given the fact that there's a difference between struggling with cheating and adopting a lifestyle of cheating. Cheating still means exit. But I've also come to understand, and I'm not in a relationship with anyone, but I've also come to understand that you can't really leave everybody. That's why I don't really make married people my target, because I've never been married. And it is somewhat disrespectful to expect them to understand single topics when they are married. You have a partner who, cheats, and then here it is, I'm a single woman, tell the girl, my friend girl, you need to leave him. You need to leave him. Well, there's more to take into consideration when you're married. You got the house, you got your jobs, you got the kids, you got a whole life being married. And for me as a single person, I can't tell you to quit your family, even if I believe your husband has already quit the family. So the struggle, he might be struggling with something. Cheating might be an issue that he has had from a child. Well, there might be a struggle, right? You might want to work things out. He might get counseling. You might want to journal. It's a number of things that you might do to resolve cheating in the marital bed, right? But when the person is adopting a lifestyle, they are aware of what they want to do, and they will sort of pridefully tell you, this is who I am. And this is who I am is basically saying, I'm not changing. This is who I am, accept me or not, right? And once they get to that attitude, it's already a lifestyle. So then you have to determine if you're going to accept their cheating lifestyle or you're going to reject their cheating lifestyle. But you are now at a crossroad moment, because they've already told you who they are and what they're going to continue to do. If you would leave, journal a possible walkaway strategy. So how would you work it out? That means you would have to consider money, time, job, resources in your journal entry. When I think about job, you have some folks in certain communities who are stay-at-home moms, right? But I don't really agree necessarily with stay-at-home mom for throughout the child's life. Meaning, maybe the first 5 years, because you want to make sure that the child gets what he or she needs. But when I say I'm not in favor of it, I mean that to mean that no one should really be out of a job today. When we had men who were the primary breadwinners and they worked and went out and the women stayed at home, society was a little different. You had a job, you kept a job. There was no real issue. I mean, it used to be that you could stay on your job for 20, 25 years and retire and actually get your pension and Social Security. No one is really going to get Social Security now. And jobs today are playing this game that they only hire you part-time, or they only keep you for a year, and then they might renew your contract because they don't want to pay health care. And so people are now having to get 2 or 3 jobs just to make it, because they are getting part-time hours and not full-time hours like they used to. So when you are thinking about this, like I said, I don't think anybody should be out of a job today. Even if you are a stay-at-home mom and you went out and worked just 1 or 2 days out of the week, it keeps you connected to a job. So if your husband got sick, lost his job, there's still some kind of cash flow coming into the house. So when you think about your walkaway strategy, consider money, time, job, and resources at your disposal. So the benefits and costs of mate switching. So there's this room for assessment to think about. So because mate switching is a short-term mating strategy, it has some benefits. One can mate switch to increase their own mate value. Mate switching allows men to create and maintain multiple short-term mating relationships, such as sexual affairs, low commitment relationships, and one-night stands. So if you think about, say, the Meghan Markle example, right? She was with one guy, I forget his name, but he was in the industry too, and I don't know if he would be considered high value. He's part of the dominant ruling class, right? Not necessarily a ruling class member, but he's white. Okay. But then she ended up divorcing him, and then later, some years later, marrying Prince Harry. So her mate value rose. She's a mixed race woman, and white men are the global standard, right? And they are the ruling class in America. And she married him, and that raised her status, her mate value status, even though she was the one who was the celebrity as an actress, right? And she was doing other advocacy work and things like that. Her mate value was high, or I don't know if she was considered high mate value, but she had a good mate value, and then she married him, and it improved. Well, her mate value skyrocketed when she married Prince Harry. So when she mate switched from a regular, everyday, maybe high value man to an elite high value man, it skyrocketed, and it increased her mate value. So now she is Duchess, Meghan Markle, or however way you want to say that, right? For men, mate switching allows them to entertain multiple short-term mating relationships. So those are those sexual affairs, low commitment relationships, and one-night stands. So the mating market favors men's interests. So even though both men and women can compete in the mating market still favors the interests of men over women. Men have what women, or let's say it like this: women have what men need, which is sex, but men have what women need, which is commitment. And men can push and pull out of the mating market with commitment, because although women are the sexual gatekeepers in terms of sex, men are relationship gatekeepers in terms of commitment. So they don't have to give commitment if they don't want to. The previous societies, previous generations required men to marry, because the father was in the home, and the father was not going to let his child be a wandering daughter or something like that. That if you wanted to be with his daughter, you had to marry her, right? And then there were those, shotgun weddings, etc. But today, many of the fathers are not in the home, which leaves many of the girls, the daughters, vulnerable. And this is in both communities, in multiple communities. And so now, because we don't have that immediate protection in the father being in the home, men don't have to commit. They don't have the father's foot on their necks. And so there's a lot of low commitment and one night stands as a result. Mate switching allows women to assess current partners' mate value and exit when the partners are not meeting certain criteria, usually, benefit provisioning, which always includes compliments, gifts, and access to financial resources. So when you get partners who decide that they don't want to, they want to keep a tight ring on the financial purse, then you will find women who say, okay, I'm going to go and find someone who will let me be what I want to be with his money. They may not use those words, but that's basically what they're looking for. They'll take the flowers, they'll take the gifts, but they still want access to financial resources. And anytime a man is sort of keeping an eye on the financial purse and preventing that woman from, or his wife from accessing those financial resources, meaning she doesn't have access to all the money in the bank account, or she doesn't have access to all of the bank accounts or all of the properties, etc., then she's already on the hunt to mate switch. So the costs of mate switch include loss of social support, damage to reputation, revenge porn. If you cheat on your current mate, it might affect relationships within the family unit. Revenge porn is becoming a very popular strategy. So you would have loss of social support depends. I mean, it actually could be the same whether you are at middle class, working class, higher level classes, upper classes, or elite. That if you were married to your male partner, your husband, and you had access to his sister or his mother to keep the kids sometimes, you had that kind of access without a lot of maybe criticism, or you had it without reluctance, right? But once you decide to leave him, now you get the critical eyes of his family. So they might choose not to support you when you need help, right? Also, it depends on what you did. So many partners are exposing their spouses, and a lot of times it's affecting their work at the job, right? Some people are sending emails, to people's supervisors, etc. So you may have a damage to your reputation. And then revenge porn, basically, if they filmed you both having sex, or if you were naked one time, getting out of the shower, and they filmed you and then they posted it somewhere on their website or on YouTube, that's revenge porn. And it'd be hard to take that down. And so that's the cost of mate switching. And, it could be that you never did anything at all and just decided that you wanted a divorce, and they decided that they were going to make you pay. And you could be the person that the partner cheated on, and then you decide to, make them pay. Either way, there's a cost to mate switching. Mate switching could inevitably result in loss of mate value. Withdrawal of financial support is usually a consequence of mate switching. So if Meghan Markle today decided to exit or mate switch from Prince Harry, she would lose immediate mate value. She is not Princess Diana. Princess Diana, she might have lost some mate value in not being with Prince Charles, but she was so highly regarded globally, that she maintained a mate value, even when she married, even when she was wanting to marry someone else who did not fit the British ideal. She still had a high mate value, and even to this day, all these 30 plus years later, she still has a high mate value. Meghan Markle does not have the same mate value. She has a high mate value now, but if she decided to mate switch, she would not have that same mate value. It's not, she could still navigate some circles, but there may not be a guarantee that she would also be accepted into those circles, not like Princess Diana. Withdrawal of financial support is always a consequence of mate switching. So if you are caught cheating, the partner, your male partner, male husband, could decide to cut you off financially, and you have to go to court to get some kind of alimony or child support or something like that. But that is a cost of mate switching. So for homework, have you ever endured a relationship where money was used against you? Has a partner ever abandoned you and left you without money? Have you abandoned a partner and left him without money? Journal what it feels like to be abandoned financially, whether from a romantic partner or friend or family member. So there had come a time in one of my relationships early, when I just got out of high school. I was maybe like 18 months out of high school, and I hastily moved into a place with my boyfriend. And then there were some situations that happened. It got toxic, and he one time put his hands on me. And he was always the kind of person, he had a job, but he somehow managed to lose all of his money by the time he got home. So I ended up having to pay the rent, which was the game. I didn't know game at that time. And when I decided to leave after he kind of put his hands on me, he yanked at me. He didn't hit me, but he yanked at me, and that was enough for me. It was time to pay rent. And so he had lost all his money or something like that. I think he gave all his money to somebody, really. I never found out. But I had decided to go on ahead and leave, and I called my stepfather, and he came and picked me up, and he had asked me, so aren't you going to leave me here with some money? And I wasn't willing to leave him with any money, because he had used me the whole time, played around. I think he cheated. And so I left. I think I gave him maybe $40 or something like that, and then I left. I'm not even sure if I gave him that. I can't even really remember, but it sounds about almost right. But I don't consider it abandoning him, because he had a job. He just decided to drink all his money and smoke all his money. But I did leave him without money. Well, fast forward some years, in 2013, 16, between 13 and 16, I met someone, turns out to be a snake. And he was cheating and couldn't let go of his ex. And so once when I got tired of going back and forth with that relationship, and when I realized, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that I was going to let him go for good. And I didn't know the date, the hour, the moment, or whatever, but I just knew. I started preparing his exit. And the way that I did that was, I told him to save money. He didn't know that I wanted him to save money to leave. I just told him to go back to saving money. So he had managed to save $3,000. And the reason why I told him that was, I didn't want to feel bad when I let him go for good, kick him out of the house for good for cheating. I'm not saying that I felt bad with the first guy, but I also know what it feels like to be abandoned, financially, and not have any money and be homeless. And I didn't really want, even though the person was doing me wrong, I still didn't want to do what he was doing to me. I still didn't wish him on him. So he managed to save about $3,000 or more. And when I found out for the very last time that he had cheated again, um, I packed all of his stuff and I called the cab, and we rode the cab to the storage place, and I took all his stuff, put it in the storage, and he had to help as well. And he paid for the storage, and then I got back into the cab and I left. And I didn't, and this time I did not abandon him or leave him without money. He had his own money. And so that's what I want you to think about. Maybe two instances where you might have been abandoned, or where you might have abandoned a partner, and you may have a justification like I did. But financial abandonment is something that you want to think about. That's why I say you got to keep a job. You got to keep a baseline, a cash flow coming in, because when people decide they want to exit a relationship with you, and it can be anybody, you need to make sure that you can take care of yourself. So the need to monitor, women tend to monitor men more than men monitor women, even though I believe that if a man is already in the mode of mate switching, or if he's in the mode of always wanting to update the woman he's with, then he's really monitoring the woman more than the woman is monitoring him. So women monitor their partner's mate value. Evidence suggests that women indeed continue to track their partner's mate value across the relationship and use this information to invest or disinvest from relationships. Now, I will say this, women do not just automatically leave relationships. I don't know about other types of women, but just everyday general women do not just up and leave relationships just because the partner's mate value changes. So this must be higher level type women at the 7, 8, 9, 10, or more, actually 9 or 10 levels in terms of ranking, who are monitoring their partner's mate value. Or the woman could be a 9 or 10 and the man is a 7 and 8, and she might be monitoring his mate value to make sure that he still brings in money, he still brings in financial resources. And he might be monitoring her mate value to make sure she doesn't defect from the relationship. He doesn't want her to leave. So I think both are monitoring, but I do feel like when it comes to women, they are doing more of the monitoring when it comes to financial resources and access to those resources. And men are monitoring in terms of mate value and physical attractiveness. So when she begins to change in physical attractiveness, I believe he's already out the door. It's just a matter of time. Women will usually explore potential alternative mates when their partners fail to provide. Again, that's that implicit access to financial resources. Women will always monitor their own mate value if they increase in status through their own efforts, if they subtly inherit resources, or if they become attracted to potential alternative. I think it has more to do with money, more so. If they are thinking about a potential alternative, it could be somebody from their past. I honestly don't believe women just go out and look for new mates who have a higher mate value. If they do something like that, it has to be somebody who is a celebrity. It's just not just an everyday Joe person, even if he looks good. But if they've been working hard, women tend to stay with their mates, even if they're like an average Joe when they make money, right? If they have like this little business on the side, some hustle on the side, and now is actually bringing in money, they're not apt to just leave that relationship and go marry some higher mate value man. That's men. Men do stuff like that because they see that their money has access to higher level women, so they will leave a wife that they've been with for years and go and marry some other woman who did nothing for them, honor them, give them the world, the house, the cars, everything like that, And then when they get into trouble and they lose everything, um, that woman that they left their wife for will leave them. And I mean, if you think about the film The Wolf of Wall Street, there was a woman, the first wife, who stuck it out with him when he was going, trying to take the Series 7 license test and everything. He was studying, and then he had the job, and then he lost the job, and then he went to another place, and then he was trying to build another company, Stratford or whatever, and she was for it. Now, she didn't really update her looks, and I've heard men say, and women, that as he goes up, you need to go up, especially in your physical attractiveness. So she still looked like a girl from where they came from. She didn't sort of straighten her hair, she didn't change her clothes, right? But then when another woman, Margot Robbie's character, comes into the scene, she looks like, wealth or whatever. She looks like she's stepped out of a big jet or a mansion or something like that. And her looks look updated, even if the Wolf of Wall Street's character hadn't seen her prior to how she looked. And so she looked like money. She looked like somebody that he could use as a trophy. So he decided to leave the wife for the woman who was a mistress and then became his wife. And he gave her a big diamond ring and gave her mansions, gave her everything. But then when he got into trouble and was about to go to jail, that same person, she decided to leave him. And so because she was looking for a higher mate value in him, but once his mate value changed, and she monitored that. She monitored it for cheating, so she called him out on his cheating all the time. She pulled back sex and then gave sex back to him, right? There were some issues with the children, with the child that they had. He was still doing drugs, things like that. But when it looked like he was going to jail, going to prison, well, immediately his mate value changed. So she had access to all of his resources, whatever was left, and she decided to divorce him once his mate value changed. So she began monitoring him when it came to cheating, because she never actually had any fear that he would go back to his ex-wife. That was not going to happen. But he was messing with other people. And so she began monitoring his mate value when it came to him cheating. And then after that, it came to, financial resources. So for homework, do you feel the need to monitor your relationships? If yes, how taxing is romantic monitoring on your mental faculties? Journal your limits at romantic monitoring. It's not something that I can do forever. We all need to monitor our relationships, especially for mate value, access, and sustaining monetary sources, financial resources, etc., and making sure that we remain friends. We continue to have great sexual compatibility, etc. But I'm not looking to continue to monitor all day long what my partner is doing. There are some limits at my romantic monitoring. And that's something that you want to think about, because I can't keep up with a cheating partner, But it might be, if the person is struggling, it might be the same as someone who's struggling with some other addiction, trying to keep up with them. I don't know. It just depends. The more you know about the situation, the more you feel equipped to stick it out. And the more you don't know about the situation, the quicker you feel that you should abandon the situation. But I do have to say, you can't leave everybody, but you have to determine your limits at romantic monitoring. All right, so cultivating backup mates with issues with relationship satisfaction. So if you have someone already cultivating a backup mate, there may be an issue with relationship satisfaction. But when you think about this, if a person is already cultivating a backup mate, is it really you? Sometimes it could be you if you're not giving up sex, or you're not giving good sex, or you lost your job or something like that, and you sort of contributed to everybody becoming homeless. Maybe you know you might be cultivating a backup mate, but that shouldn't be like a thing that you do all the time. And then relationship satisfaction, you know, there has to come a time when you make yourself happy. You know, a partner shouldn't have to make you happy all day, every day. At what point are you going to do that for yourself? So I don't know. It can go back and forth. So backup mate hypothesis is useful for people experiencing high relationship satisfaction. Women and men report having backup mates and would actively use cost-inflicting behaviors to prevent defection. Women more than men reported that they would be extremely upset if their backup entered a long-term romantic relationship with someone else or fell in love with someone else. I think a lot of times the backup mates or the friends that they have, because especially if they have never had sex with that friend yet, and they have kept them as friends because they knew them so long ago. And if you're not having sex with somebody, it's almost like you're courting that person. And if you are already cultivating a backup mate, that means you already had that person in mind. Maybe the person is at the job. Maybe the person is at the grocery store. Maybe you know the person through another person, but it doesn't make any sense that you would already, here it is, you're married and already have a backup mate in mind. And so the fact that you're going to be extremely upset if your backup mate entered a long-term romantic relationship is very selfish, because you're married and you are cultivating the man as a backup mate. Well, that sort of hinders him from going out and seeking someone that he could marry. I don't understand that. Women more than men reported that they would actively try to prevent their number one backup from marrying someone else. Now, this may be a non-marital situation. You both could be just friends and you are using him as a backup, right? You may be involved with another man and you're using your friend as a backup, but then your friend meets somebody else. How many times does this happen? This happens all the time. And I didn't realize that it's funny. Some of these friends won't, it reminds me of the movie with Julia Roberts, Diaz. I forget her first name. And I think his last name was Dermot McRooney or something like that. I can't remember. But I think the movie was My Best Friend's Wedding. All that time that Julia Roberts' character had access to that man, they were friends for years. They were in different cities and states, but they were friends for years. And she had all that time to be with him, to choose him, to seek, to try to create a relationship with him, etc. Only then, when he decides he wants to marry Cameron Diaz's character, that she now wants to be with him. See, she always thought that he would always be around. He would always wait for her. He would always be around. He would always be available. And I'm not quite sure. I can't remember if they ever had sex, but I do know that they were best friends. And to come between two people like that is wrong. It's wrong. Because if you wanted him all that time, then you should have made a play for him. But you can't now make a play for him when he is with somebody else. And that's what happens when their number one backup decides to pursue and enter a romantic relationship, you are extremely upset, and then you will do all that you can to try to prevent that. But it's not going to work, because once the person turns his heart away from you to someone else, it's already there. You see in the film, he ended up marrying Cameron Diaz's character, because you can't keep two people together if they want to be together, and you can't try to resolve the problem with your backup mate when you used him as a backup mate. So that means you never really wanted him. So I thought that film was very interesting to think about and use here. So when it comes time to remate, a breakup usually ends in remating with a new mate. One form of mate switching would occur when the affair partner, backup, or potential mate becomes the new regular mate, in which case the problems of mate search, mate choice, and mate attraction post breakup are solved. So as long as you are holding on to somebody and then you are cultivating backup mates, you don't have the problem of trying to find to search for a new mate, to choose another mate, to be attracted to another mate, right? That's why people like to keep one relationship at arm's length and another relationship at arm's length as well. So, and then actually pursue even another relationship at arm's length. So it makes it easier for them to just move between people, and they don't have to get out and date again and try to find somebody new and choose somebody. That's why I believe people tend to adopt the lifestyle of dating rotations, because it's just much easier for them in their thinking, because they don't have the burden of trying to find somebody new, trying to be outgoing, trying to be appealing, trying to be high value, trying to find the right type of person. They don't have that as a burden. So it's much easier for them to just cultivate a backup mate. But when they have to actually remate after a breakup, that's when they have these issues: mate search, mate choice, mate attraction. People who break up with partners without transitioning to a new partner are forced to enter the mating market. So when you keep someone at arm's length, you don't really have to actually transition too much, because you've already cultivated the relationship with the backup mate. So then if one partner decides that he or she wants to leave you, okay, so you got somebody else, and so go on ahead and leave me. I got somebody. But when you, as I noted in the previous slide, when you really break up, you then have to return to the mating market. Rushing too soon into a relationship may come off as desperate, leading to poor mate choice. Baggage is likely a prerequisite for a new breakup. So usually people remate to rebound. So right after the breakup, they go and search for a rebound. And the rebound is likely any value, really. It can be it can be high value, it can be low value, right? It's any value, as long as you soothe your ego. And the goal is to believe that you can still get someone. So, and also to believe that you're not as bad as your ex-partner has portrayed you to be. So that's why many people actually remate to rebound, and then they end up abandoning the rebound once they find a true person, another actually better person. So as we conclude, let's look at the ultimate backup plan. The mate switching hypothesis has both advantages and disadvantages. Partners usually mate switch based upon resources as well as good genes in terms of partner investment. However, mate switching may not always be necessary, or may not be a necessary option. It's relative. It just depends, because if you keep leaving people and leaving people and leaving people, there may come a time when you have a dry spell. And it seems like you wouldn't if the sex market is flooded with more women than men. but something in your spirit, something in your attitude, something in the way that you portray yourself might come off as, desperate or offensive or anything to a prospective mate, that says, okay, don't mess with him. And you usually see this in womanizers, um, people trying to be pimps or something like that. It's something in their spirit that comes off that immediately tells the woman, no, don't choose him. A small minority of women in delimited contexts could successfully implement a dual mating strategy and secure good genes from an affair partner, while other women who have affairs are implementing one or another variant of mate switching. Mate switching is the ultimate backup plan for a number of reasons. So I want you to get into a YouTube discussion about exit strategies. Based upon this discussion of mate switching, what are some of the exit strategies you have deployed in previous romantic relationships? What were some of the reasons you used to justify the exit? Add your comments and you can respond to any one of the questions. So many times we don't really exit relationships. We just basically leave. One day we're in the house and one day we're not. But I think a breakup should be a true breakup, meaning that you should sit down as you would do in a divorce. Sit down, talk things out, make sure there's clarity, and then say we are ending the relationship. People don't want to do that because, first of all, it's hard. It requires emotional regulation, and we don't know how to regulate our emotions that well. But also, we like the idea of keeping the person as an option just in case the new person we get is not working out. So it's like we like to cultivate that old person, that ex, almost like a backup mate. And so, like a fallback, we're not going to go back to the person per se for romantic involvement, but we like to cultivate, say, like a relationship in terms of sex. So if a woman is dating a high value man and she wants to make herself seem like she's not sexually promiscuous, she will not have sex with him, but have sex with her backup mate, right? If a man is wanting to woo a woman and doesn't want to push sex and he wants to respect and honor her, then he won't have sex with her, but he would have sex with an ex-girlfriend. He would cultivate a backup mate. And so that's something that I want you to think about. What were some of your exit strategies you deployed, and what were the reasons you used to justify the exit? All right, so hopefully you were able to gain insight from this video discussion. Please like, subscribe, and visit. So please like the video, hit the notification bell for more discussions. I am re-uploading all of my audios, so I needed to make some changes to them. You can visit my website for more content at reginayfavors.com. If you want to send me an email, you can send an email, reginayfavors@yahoo.com. Please also purchase the book. It's going to come out in spring 2021, so I had to make changes to my book to update it, and I also updated the title. So the original title was Bait, Hook, and Switch, Confessions of a Rebound Girl, and I have updated the title to Toxic Encounters, Why People Pursue Rebound Relationships. So right now I'm still basically editing it, and I want to make it available in spring 2021. So thank you very much for visiting my channel, and I am Regina Y. Favors. Have a great day.